Hello and welcome. I've got a really exciting video here today. I'm joined with Aki, and we're going to be talking a little bit about reviews.
Woohoo!
So I've, done written reviews in the past, and then recently, as in just this last year, transferred from written reviews for the YouTube to, and obviously they were all video reviews, but I used to write large scripts to freeform kind of rambly reviews. Because that really fit more for the style of video review I wanted to do. But you do mostly written
I
reviews.
actually, I do a lot of written reviews. I work at a website called indiegamerteam.com.
Right.
We do only indie games, obviously, hence the name. Uh, and I started off there as just a writer. Now I effectively run it. I don't own it.
Right.
We are basically a subsidiary, I guess you'd call it, of Indie Gamer Chick, who
Okay.
is famous in her own right. She created all this. Basically, Indie Gamer Team is a place for people to just get started so they can hopefully branch off. It's basically a place to get your portfolio, more or
Right.
less, so you can branch off, do your own thing with a fan base that you've cultivated here with us.
Right.
So now I'm the head of it at this point. I'm also the PR person because we don't have a PR person, so I started doing that. I'm also the editor,
Yeah.
and I'm still a reviewer and writer for the place.
It's a busy schedule.
Yeah, and on top of that, I also work at a podcast which doesn't have any written bits. The SML podcast,
Right.
also on YouTube, doing vocal reviews. I used to write for that too, but then the boss Joe was like, "Why don't you come on and actually say them?" And I used to still write
Right.
stuff for that and just read off the paper.
Yeah.
And eventually I realized that just doesn't fucking work.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work for video, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I don't
so
mean
I
to cut
threw
you
that
off,
away.
but I thought based on because I listened to the not the most recent, but the episode previous, and I thought based on that you were still going off a series of notes. That's really impressive.
No. Um, for me, thankfully, it's gonna sound like a brag, and I
Oh,
don't
go
want it to
ahead,
be,
brag
but it's going
away.
to be. I have a genius level IQ,
Nice.
so I'm really good at remembering things
Yeah.
and repeating them. So I don't take any notes or anything about any game that I play. I
Right.
just remember everything about it. I can tell you almost every game I've ever played. If you go and you pick up the name and just give me like a picture of it, I can usually tell you about
Yep.
it with even though I haven't played it for years.
Weirdly, I am very similar. I used to take a lot of notes for reviews, and I would find that it actually like really hurt my enjoyment of the game, having to stop and take the notes. And nowadays, when I do a review, sometimes I'll miss things, but most of the time, it's just, hey, as soon as I start talking about it, everything comes back to me, and here's everything that I encountered that really stood out to me while I was playing the game.
Yeah, even when I wrote reviews for it, I never took notes while playing.
Nice.
I'd finish it and then I'd immediately write about it,
Yeah.
or or if I had a whole bunch of them, I'd write about it eventually.
Yeah. I
But
get
once I
that for
started
sure.
thinking about it, I was like, okay, this is everything about it. I remembered everything I liked. I remembered everything I didn't like. I remembered who the main character was, if they were attractive enough for me to bother to remember. Because I'll admit that is one of the things. I am a lesbian. I focus on all the hot girls, and I'm like, if they're hot, I will remember this game so much better. Or if they're a cute animal,
Yeah,
like
I don't blame you.
if I was playing Tunic, trust me, I'd remember the fox.
Oh yeah, that fox is adorable.
Oh, so much.
See,
I
I'm
did
that
not get
way
that for
with
review, sadly.
I'm that way with memorable characters like that stand out to me. Like Dragon Quest 11 Sylvando is one that really stands out to me as
I've never played any of those.
oh 11 Sylvando is like the reason to play 11 for me, even though it has a great combat system with the turn based. They do turn based really well in that game, but like
What system is that for? That's
I
a
think it's
Game Boy?
on I think it's on Switch,
Oh,
Steam,
it's one of the newer
and
ones. I
console.
just
Yeah,
assumed it was one of the old
no,
ones.
this is the newest one.
Okay, yeah, I don't play handhelds typically is the
I don't blame
thing.
you.
Because with both of us have really bad eyesight, so
Yeah,
handhelds were never like I had a Game Boy, I had a Game Boy Advanced. I don't even know what kind of standard Game Boy I had. I don't know if it was
Right.
black and white or color anymore because it was forever ago. But
Yeah.
the Advanced was the last one I had, and I maybe played it for 10 hours total, and the entire time I owned it.
This is
Um,
like a weird tangent, but I've been having that same problem with Trying a Strategy. I picked that up for review for the channel, and it's on Switch. And when I'm playing it at home, no problem. I can play it on through the Switch, hooked up to the monitors with a whole setup, and
yep.
I'm good. But if I have to go somewhere and I'm gonna be there a little while, I tried to bring it with me, and it just, man, I cannot. I cannot just sit and stare at that little screen. I'm sorry. I want to,
Yeah.
but I just can't.
See, that's the thing. Handhelds are not made for
Us.
visually handicapped people at all.
Yeah.
It is very the screens just they're never going to be good enough
Right.
because I mean, hell, I have a 42-inch widescreen TV that is what I'm looking at right now because it also functions as my computer monitor
Right.
because I'm cheap. Um, cheap and there's not a lot of room here, so
I don't blame you one bit.
yeah, I sit less than a foot away from it.
I don't blame you one bit. Although, when I was a kid, there were a lot of warnings about that.
Oh yeah, I never cared about any of them.
Yeah, I
My
didn't
mom was
either.
always like, "Sit further away." I'm like, "Then I shouldn't watch TV because I can't see it."
Also, like, how hypocritical was it to have the characters in the show saying don't do that, and then in the show those characters were doing that?
I know,
Like,
right? I
come on.
remember they did that in I think it was Transformers. They had an
Yep.
episode of that, but then all the characters were sitting like 2 inches away from the TV. They could almost stick their tongue out and lick the
Yep.
TV. I'm like, no, don't tell me not to do this.
Yeah,
You're my heroes. If you're doing it, I'm doing it.
of course. That's why I cackle like a madman, like Skeletor. Uh, so to try and steer this back, because you and I have spoken a few times now, and we can just do this. We can just
Yeah.
go if we're not careful. But
Yeah, I'm fine with being on the show regularly. I'm just saying.
yeah. No, I
'Cause
understand.
I think I could have a conversation with both you and Rugran all day.
Yeah,
I don't know if we'd ever get anything done,
that's the
but
real question. So we both have written a lot of reviews, and the first question I wanted to ask you really was, which one do you enjoy more? Now that I know that you do a lot more of the off the cuff ones as well, do you enjoy more of the scripting it out and trying to put everything into a set pattern? Because I've read a few of your written reviews too, and I think they're, not to just boost up your ego, but I think they're pretty well written. Uh,
yeah,
but for
I have a
me,
very specific writing style. Most
yeah,
people don't like it. I'm glad someone does.
I do, because it gets to the core of what I want to know. Will this game appeal to
Yeah,
me? Which we cover reviews every week on the podcast, and we try to highlight some good ones, and most of the time highlight the bad ones, right? Because
yeah, very much
games
so.
reviewing as a medium has gotten bad, right? It was already bad for a
Yeah,
while, but it's gotten worse.
I blame
Uh,
IGN.
I think so too, and I think that the idea of, well, we got to get our phrase on the box, or we don't want to hurt feelings or step on toes. You can be negative about a game without hurting feelings or stepping on toes. Uh,
And even if you do, you know, that's how people learn.
it is
If you say something and it's mean about the game and it actually affects the person who made the game, that means they took it to heart.
that's right,
And they're more likely to change that aspect. If
right,
you're like, "Oh, this game sucked," that lots of times that might hurt their feelings if there's a lot of people doing that. But overall, they don't actually care about that because that doesn't
right,
do fucking anything. If you're like, this character was written terribly because of
right.
this interaction, how they did this, that might really hurt their feelings because they probably put a lot of effort into that,
Right.
but then they know what they did.
I think too often too we're blind to our failings and we don't recognize, like, some of us are too harsh on ourselves, right? And some of us are
Yeah.
completely blind to our own failings and we don't recognize the problem. And I think like Balan Wonderworld is a great example of that.
Game
Of
should have been so much better than it was.
it should have, and it has some really cool ideas, but along the way there were a couple decisions where someone should have said, "Are you sure about this?" and no one did. And that Balan review on the channel has some pretty negative comments to it that are just like, "Hey, I hate the way you talked about this game, and I can't believe that you're bashing it so much. It's like, no, I need people to understand. My job is to tell people whether or not they should purchase this game, and I don't think they should.
Yeah, like that's one thing that's thankfully I'm not popular enough that I have to actually deal with criticism of my criticism
It'll
particularly
happen. Don't
often.
worry.
Uh, I don't think I'll ever be that famous again. My writing not really up most people's styles because I don't do any comedy or anything, and it's
Right.
just information. Lots of people don't look for reviews for that. They
Right.
just go to the end and see whatever rating they have, and
That's
that's
right.
what they go off of. When they're reading a review, they usually want comedy. So I'm not going to probably ever be that famous, thank God. So I don't have to deal with that. But I've seen other people who do, like Indie Gamer Chick, my
Right.
boss, Kathy. She gets that shit all the time. I'm just like, if you don't like what they have to say, don't follow their reviews. Because
Yep.
if you disagree with them, then you're not like you should go and find someone who reviews games and likes ones that you like and dislikes
Absolutely.
ones you dislike that way
Absolutely.
because they're going to have the most valid information for you
That's correct.
specifically. Not that anyone else doesn't have valid information, it's just not for you.
Right.
Because it's like I can be like, oh, cheeseburgers from this place are great, but if you hate fucking cheeseburgers, that doesn't do you any good.
That's exactly right. People
So
really
yeah.
need to curate their sources for reviews, and they don't. Or they
See, what
only listen to IGN.
God, never listen to IGN. Just flat out, just
Yeah.
don't.
IGN
Um,
Italy's okay. IGN Korea's pretty good too, but IGN US, man.
yeah, I don't trust anything that comes from them because
Uh,
everything they do just seems like it's an advert for the fucking game instead
it
of
really
telling me
does.
about the game. It's pathetic, and I
Yeah.
hate it. Um, Me personally, when I'm looking for reviews, I just grab whatever I can find.
Yeah.
I don't curate anything. I just grab from like 20 different sources, and check to see just generally what the flow is for all of them. I
Right.
just like usually I go to YouTube, I'll find like 5, 6, 7, 8 different people, and I'll try to find a couple written ones. And I'll just listen and see if they all have a general consensus because I
Hmm.
don't know any of them. And if they're like half of them are this route and half of them are that route, then I'll look and see what other stuff they've done
Yeah.
and see if I agree with if they've played anything that I've played and see if I agree with them. And if I
Right.
don't agree with people on one side, then I know the other side's probably for me.
Right. No, I get you for sure. I used to listen to like Giant Bomb, and then
Yeah, I
they kind
occasionally
of
grab reviews from them too.
they kind of separated out to a large way, and then I used to listen to like Easy Allies reviews, and then they
Don't
kind
know
of
them.
separated out a lot too. They used to be game trailers,
Oh, okay.
and there's some good people in there that write some good reviews. It's just I kind of got to the point where I just want to hear, like you said, a lot of different opinions, and then I'll always go to a couple mainstays that hey, I want to hear what you think. I don't even necessarily agree with you. I just want to hear what you think about this game. But one of the big problems I find, and this was another question I had, I guess we're just going to jump to it. Why not? Uh, how do you feel about the fact that a lot of reviews nowadays just have blatant spoilers for the story of the game in them?
I see that's where it's hard because lots of people they want to talk about the story of the game
Right.
because that's kind of an important aspect of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really I don't like all the spoilers, but I also from experience know it's very hard not to touch on them
Yes, it is.
because sometimes that is a very impactful part that you kind of need to talk about, but you also really can't at the same time because
Right.
it's a spoiler and there's a lot of confliction and sometimes you're just like I got to talk about it because it's important and other
It's
times you're like well no I'll hold off
yeah,
but it's always just kind of a coin flip on what you end up doing because I know
absolutely.
I've done some reviews that I'm sure I've done some spoilers on. Thankfully usually I'm doing reviews of like multiple parts of a series,
Yeah,
so I'll save the spoiler for the next part of the series
for sure.
where I'll mention the stuff that happened in the last one, even if it just came out a few months prior. Because I'm like,
If you're
that's an
watching the
important
second one,
aspect now.
you should already have seen the first one. You should already have played the
Yeah.
first one.
Um, And it also, in my opinion, also depends on when the review comes out, because
Yeah.
lots of reviews do come out, within the first like week, but there's also people who, I've done this a few times over at IGT, Indie Gamer Team. I'll review a game a year or so later just because I finally got my hands on it. I'm like,
Right.
I played this, I liked it, I want to do a review on it. And in that case, usually it's like a year later. If you haven't played it at that point, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like,
It,
I'm going to put all the spoilers I want. If you haven't consumed a piece of media within a year, then that's on you. I'm
I
not
also
I'm not
think
going to be
like
like, no spoilers at that point.
if it's been out for a year, you should
Yeah.
you should either have already figured out if you want to play it or not, or you just saw it and are like, all right, let me listen to the first couple minutes, or let me read the first couple minutes of this, or the first couple
Yeah.
sentences of this. Oh yeah, this seems like my jam. Let me go try it out for now then.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I really like when places have demos. It's a
Yeah,
shame that isn't still a really popular thing.
I agree.
really would like that to come back. That
It's
was so
kind of
fun.
been coming back in a weird way, which is good.
Yeah,
Like Triangle
Steam's been doing it,
Strategy,
and so has
Strangers in
Xbox.
Paradise, both have demos that can and Bravely Default too. All three have demos that can transfer over to the main game.
Very nice. Like, I've played a couple. One was Scarlet Nexus.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 had one for a little while. And
Yeah.
whilst they don't carry over to the main game, when you finish it, you unlock special rewards
Yes.
by just having the save for that game
Yeah.
on your console.
Which is
still.
cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's just, it's a little fun thing. I don't like when, like with the Resident Evil, they actually got rid of the demo,
Yeah.
so you couldn't
Especially
still play
since
it.
those demos were not like part of the full game. They were their own thing. Like
Well, for
I get
Scarlet
rid of 'em.
Nexus, that the demo actually was part of the game. It
Right.
was
I just meant for
the
Resident
opening
Evil.
mission. Yeah, that was. Matter of fact, I think Resident Evil Village also had one. I don't know if it's been deleted or
I
not.
don't know.
But both of them, they were little side stories, and apparently they were really good fun. I didn't play either of them.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because by the time I finally got into Resident Evil 7, it was long after,
Yeah.
long after it had come out, because I got the deluxe edition or whatever the hell it
Nice.
was on sale. Ironically, I had won a copy of it not long after it came out, but
Nice.
my review boss over at SML, Joe, he was like, if you don't want this, I would love to have it.
Right.
And I was like, sure, fine, whatever. Because for me, I had grown up on since 4. I had
Right.
been playing them. And I'm like, okay, I like 4 and 5. Everything after that was garbage. And
Oh
I was
yeah.
just like, so number 7, I was like, yeah, you take it. I don't even give a shit, because I was just like, it's going to be more crap. And it really was not. It was
No, I love 7.
fantastic.
I used to speedrun 7.
Man, I still need to do that. I've played through it one time, and I was like, now I'm going to play through it on the hardest difficulty, and I'm going to beat it under 4 hours because I'm great. And then I just never ended up starting it again. I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to finish that at some point. I have all the DLC for it.
Yeah.
And I mean all the well, no, I don't have the 5 coins DLC. That is literally the only DLC I don't have for it.
Yeah. It's probably going to
And
be cheap soon, I would think, because it's been out for a while.
it's been on sale
Yeah.
a couple times. Like, I think, matter of fact, the 5 coins DLC might actually still be on sale. They were on sale just recently. I just
Nice.
don't know if I actually need the coins.
Yeah.
Because it was a piss take going through that, and I plan on doing the in under 4 hour one
Right.
on its own on easy, which I think gives you access to like the chainsaw or something.
I think so, yeah.
I'm like, once I
think
have
you
that,
don't lose it after
I won't care.
I was about to spoil stuff. I should not in this video spoil stuff for that game, I guess.
I mean, Resident Evil 7 has been out so
yeah.
long. Spoil away. I don't care. I've already played through the game once. I know what's going on.
I was gonna say, I think on the easiest mode you get to keep the chainsaw after the second Jack fight.
Not on easy. No.
Not on easy? Oh.
No, because that's how I beat it the first time.
Yeah.
But you do receive it either for beating it in under 4 hours or for beating it on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
One gives you the chainsaw and the other gives you infinite gun ammo or
Yeah.
a specialty gun or something.
Village has such a cool variant of that where you get an assault rifle that has like a super like penetration power to it if you beat it on the hardest difficulty.
And then if you upgrade all the weapons in that one, that gives you infinite ammo too
Yep. Yep.
for that gun, just like Resident Evil 5 had.
Yep.
And 4, I think. I think both of them did that.
Yeah.
7 did not, which is a shame.
Yeah, it really is. It's a weird choice.
Because I would like to get infinite ammo for the starting gun, and then I won't have to ever open my inventory for that achievement.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's an achievement in that game for only opening your inventory 4 times, and 4 times it is required to do in game, so you can't open it any other time. So I'm like, just give me infinite ammo, please. I just want infinite ammo.
This leads me to another question that's on my list here. I'm just kind of throwing them in natively or naturally. That's the word, as they come in. How do you feel about? And I'm of two minds on this, so I'm really curious to hear your opinion. How do you feel about the idea that you have to 100% the game to review it?
Oh fuck no!
Right.
Most reviewers don't have the time. Like, for instance, me last week, I think it was last week, I had 5 games to review, and I had 1 week to play all of them. And also, for me personally, on the SML team, I do a lot of the fucking RPGs.
Right.
Now, I don't know about you, but it takes me a long fucking time to play an RPG.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I got Thief Simulator, Tales of Arise, and like 2 other games in 1 week, and I had a week to play. I put like 60 or 80 hours in Tales of Arise and just barely finished it.
Yeah.
In that time period. And the other games I also finished. But I also don't sleep very much, and I don't have a job. All I do is play video games because I'm on disability because I'm disabled.
Right.
Crazy
This
thing
is
that
still a job, though, in my mind. I think reviewing is still very much a job.
Well, it would be if I got paid for it.
Right.
I don't get paid for
it, so
it ain't a job. Yeah. It's a hobby. I like playing video games, so I get them for free. Yeah. I'll play them. Yes, that's specifically why I got into reviewing, because I wanted more games.
Yeah.
I can't afford games. I make like a little over $700 a month.
Right.
And I have to spend half of that just on my mortgage.
Yeah.
Then I have to spend most of the rest on bills. So it's like,
I want to clarify what I'm about to say is a joke, because you can't see my face to know that I'm joking. But OnlyFans feet pics. That's no.
Oh God,
I cannot
my feet
tell
are
you
gross.
the number of times I've had a comment asking me when I'm going to open up my OnlyFans feet account.
If I had pretty feet like most girls, I would probably open an OnlyFans for my feet. But I have,
but not mine.
Yeah. I've had ingrown toenails all my life, and all the surgeries it's had to cut those back have made my toes look gross. Yeah. So it's like, no feet pics for me, because they're I wouldn't look at them if I didn't have. Well, I don't look at them.
So where I was going with that originally was that I'm gonna reel it back. See, this is the reel. When I did the Ghost of Tsushima review, I 100%ed that for the review.
Nice.
And I wish I hadn't, because it took me 3 months, because I was also trying to do other stuff. I started that on release date, and it was August 4th when that review went up. And,
you have an actual job though, don't you?
Yes. And,
yeah.
It's not a terrible thing, I'd say, to 100% the game you're going to review, but I think it's not needed. I think that beating the game, preferably beating the game and doing some of the side content, if not most of the side content, but I think that's all that I would expect from a reviewer. Now, we run into weird situations like what happened with IGN. Of course, it's IGN, right? But what happened with IGN with RE3 remake, where they only played one. They only played one of the character stories and reviewed it as if they played both.
Oh, that's not acceptable.
No, because they're 2 different stories.
Yeah, like for something like that, if you only had time to play one, just say this is the one we played. This is all we could get to. That's all you have to do. Just one little blurb at the beginning, the end, problem solved.
Yes, I agree.
Personally, I usually 100% most of the games I play if I'm capable of doing it, but that's all I do. Literally, I wake up, I come over here, I sit down, and I play fucking video games.
Right.
I have a tendency to forget to eat and sleep
Yeah.
instead and continue to play video games. There's been days where I haven't eaten 2 days in a row and I haven't slept either of those days too because
Yeah.
I've just been pulled into the game. So for me, 100%ing video games, I prefer to do that for reviews if I can.
Right.
But there's other times where it's like, this is a visual novel. It's
Yep.
long. I can't, with my eyesight, I can't do it. I might get, a third of the way through it. And I'm
Right.
like, I know what the story is about. So I can still talk about it. I
Right.
know, it has options. I can talk about those too.
Yep.
I've played 100 plus fucking visual novels. I know how they work.
Right.
So I can review this because I know the gist of the story. Even from that little bit of gameplay, it's obvious. I'm thinking back to fuck was it called? It's a horror one, The Letter, that just came
Okay.
out on
Yeah. Yeah.
Xbox. I played through probably a third-ish of that
Right.
before my review came in, and that was like 30 hours
Yeah.
of that game because I'm a slow reader. And that game's only supposed to be like a 40-hour game. It's going to take me like 60 or 80.
Right.
Uh, and I was like, okay, here's the gist of the story because it's kind of all laid out right at the beginning,
Right.
and it's the blurbs about it from them themselves tell me more information about it that maybe it's kind of obvious, but even if it wasn't completely obvious, now I know more information. I can put that into my review.
Right.
I'm good. But then there's games like Tales of Arise. I 100%ed that, and I quite literally mean I 100%ed that before I
Right.
reviewed it. But that's because I spent 3 days without sleeping or eating to do that.
Right. I think
And
it
I
very
was not
much.
in a good shape after that.
I'm sure. I think it very much depends on the game itself because you brought up visual novels. That was one of the examples I was going to fall to. But stuff like a Souls game where to 100% it, you have to basically do 7 playthroughs to be able to get all the stuff.
Fucking what?
Or like
Oh my god.
Fire Emblem Three Houses, where there's 4 paths that require 4 full playthroughs of that game, and then they added a DLC that gives a 5th path.
Oh
You know,
Jesus, no.
like there's no way I'm gonna do all that before I review that game. I'll specify in the review, hey, I just did this path. I know there's others, or hey, I just did this character story for this visual novel, but I'm
I
not
don't
gonna
even
do all
bother
of it.
with that because in my opinion, that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. It's more flavor stuff to me
Right.
at that point because it's like, and I remember this argument a lot back when Cyberpunk
That would be a better game, maybe.
2077 probably Cyberpunk 2077 came out. Everyone's like, oh, reviewers shouldn't be allowed to post stuff until they've played all 3 paths. Like, dude, this is
No.
like a 400 fucking hour video game. We can't do all 3 playthroughs at 400 fucking hours
Right.
each on the low end.
Yes.
I put 80 something hours into it playing through the fucking prologue
Right.
before it said, this is Cyberpunk. Like,
I think
no.
it eventually comes down to the question of like, where does it end, right? Of, well, you have to do this, well, you have to do this before you can review it.
Yeah.
At what point does that stop? I think about the Trails games and how towards the later end of the games, you got to choose what character you wanted your main character to fall for based on bonding points. And the bonding points affect the story. They change the way those character interactions work. To review that game, do I need to play it 12 times? Because the
God,
answer is no. I'm playing it once, and I'm marrying Laura because that's the right choice.
Well, regardless, at that point, you're changing how they interact with you and a
Right.
little tiny bit of the story, but the overall story is
It's still
still
the
the fucking same.
Yes.
So there is absolutely no point in playing it multiple times. Oh, you can see this girl's knickers. Woo! I don't care. Oh, she has yellow ones and she has pink ones. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's not going to be in the fucking review. Who
Yes.
gives a damn?
Because the important thing is what happened in the story.
Yes, it's not about who you bang at the end unless it's Mass Effect, in which case it's either PB or Liara, and if you choose anyone else, fuck you.
Oh, I always chose Tally.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it when I said that. I'm like,
I'm
he's going to be
German.
a
I have to
Tally
choose
stan.
Tally.
I knew it.
That's a very in-depth joke, and shout out to the person who gets it in the comments.
Yeah, sadly, I don't. And that hurts. That hurts that I don't get that.
They enslaved an entire race and tried to eradicate them when they didn't listen.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Thanks.
Oh shit. Oh, Tally was
Uh,
just a disappointment.
Justice for the
Like she
gift,
was a
man.
cool Tally was a cool character, but the way BioWare did
I
her, they
agree,
did her so
100%.
dirty.
I
All
agree.
the fan depictions of her are so much better
Yep.
than what they did, which was a modified stock image that was barely modified and was
Yeah,
terrible. I'm
I
like,
agree,
no.
100%. It's funny too because like when we say modified stock images, people go, "Oh, well, that's always going to be bad." But like Ace Combat did it with a dog for some reason. I don't know why they did. They added a JPEG dog, and it looks great. So like you could have done it justice, BioWare.
They could have, like, hell, they could have any of the people on DeviantArt they could have hired just
Yep.
to draw one photo.
Yep.
Because back then I was on DeviantArt before they changed up in a
Yeah.
way I hate, which is why I haven't been there in like almost a decade.
I don't blame you.
Like there was so many good artworks on there that I'm like, man, if that's what Telly looks like, she is so fucking hot. And then the picture came out, I'm like, that's not my Tally. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, that's not my Tally. Done. And I went right back to the DeviantArt pictures because I'm like, that's a better Tally.
Right.
And so is that one, and literally every other one on this entire set of 50 pages.
Yeah. No, there's. I think that. So this leads to another one of the questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
How harsh? People sometimes say that reviewers are too harsh or not harsh enough, right? How harsh do you think a reviewer should be when a like final game in a series is a complete letdown?
I don't think it's really. See, for me, I have a tendency to think people aren't harsh enough because
Right.
I see a lot of people as sucking a lot of corporate cock.
Right.
Or being kiss asses, whatever you want to call it. I'm more vulgar, so I go with corpo cock. Um, and for good reason, because obviously, if you talk shit about BioWare, you talk shit about EA, even though they're shit, or you talk bad about Nintendo, you're never gonna fucking get another game from
Right.
them. They're never
No
gonna
more
be like,
review
okay,
copies.
yeah. So you kind of have to kiss their ass a lot, and that's why you get, that's where you get shit like IGN
Yeah.
in the existence of everyone for some reason. That's why they exist, and most people don't agree with them because they suck corporate cock.
Yeah.
They are just guzzling that all
Never
day.
forget too much water in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. 8.4, too much water.
Oy vey. But they're you see this a lot of times actually, especially with smaller ones and larger ones both, where they're like, I don't want to put out a negative review on anything
Yeah.
because if I do, they're never going to send me another code. I'm never going to be able to review another game from them.
Right.
And that is a big, big fucking problem
It is.
in
It
the
absolutely is.
reviews. Which is why I buy some of my games on my own and why I
Right.
do a lot of indie reviews because they're not going to ban me from the game. Matter of fact,
Right.
lots of them appreciate when I'm like, this game fucking sucks.
I
Matter
had
of fact,
Oh, go ahead.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I had a game that I reviewed called ER Patient Typhoid.
Okay.
I don't remember who made it anymore because I'm not good at remembering the names of companies. I do apologize, you guys. They recently, just like within the past couple of weeks, because I wrote a scathing review because I got stuck on a part. It's a horror game.
Right.
And you can't really run much in it because your character has a stamina meter that doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And I kept dying to the same creature over and over and over, and I couldn't get past that part. And apparently, you were supposed to automatically be kicked past it,
I
and
got
it
you.
wasn't happening for me.
Yeah.
So I kept having to fucking do it. And I eventually quit the review there because I couldn't get past it, and I was
Right.
pissed. And I let that flow through my review. I'm like, it was great up until here, and then I couldn't continue. It
Yeah.
sucked at that point. I don't know why they have this because even if you get past it, which I had a couple times, there was an immediate checkpoint
Yeah.
at any point immediately after that, and there was other ways you could die immediately after that. Like that ruined it for me. I was like, I can't. I don't like this game anymore. It's not fun, and I thoroughly stated that in my review.
Yeah.
And recently they're coming out with a new game, Anglerfish, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
And they were like, "Hey, yeah, we know that you didn't like our last game." In which case I did enjoy the game. I just
Yeah, you got stuck at a
got to
part that
that
wasn't your
point
fault.
and I got stuck at that point, and that point really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because the control mechanics just aren't for what they were trying to do there. The
Right.
controls didn't work for that. Um, and they were like, we know the game wasn't for you. And guys, it was, I swear. It was great. Your gore is fantastic. Just in case you ever hear this. Here's our next game. We hope you'll like this. We took some of the stuff you talked about into consideration.
Right.
And I was scathing in my review because that part really pissed me off. And I did not hold back on the entire review about that because
Yeah.
that was still fresh in my mind. Every time I thought about that, I thought about the chase with the dog, which is that part.
Yeah.
And I just got seething angry every time. And I was like, no, I'm not talking about that part right now, but it still came through.
Yeah.
And they were like, we took lots of what you said into consideration. And we've changed, and this is our new game we're making. We're hoping you'll like it. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
awesome. I can't wait to play this because I looked at the trailer. I'm like, yes, this looks awesome. Just like ER Patient Typhoid look awesome.
Right.
They do good gore effects in their little sprites. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll probably be reviewing that when that comes out.
Right.
And a couple different companies have said stuff like that to me. And I'm like, cool. And I've also had companies who I've never heard from again after a
Right.
bad review
Yeah.
because they probably thought, well, fuck this bitch because I was a bitch.
Yeah.
But usually
had-
I think people are
Oh,
too
please go
nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Is usually the problem. You can be too mean if you're
I agree.
just hacking it apart, but most people don't really do that.
I think too often people wear gloves, and it's why we highlight how like the disparity with the recommended score.
Yeah.
Because people will give a good review of like, yeah, the game's pretty good, and then it's, well, no, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's like, well, I would like those two to make sense to me. I would like that to be reasonable. I had
for me, when it comes to stuff like that, not with other people's reviews, but I've done that a couple times.
Right.
Because usually it's the opposite direction where it's like, I recommend it, but I didn't like it.
Right.
Because I can usually understand this isn't a game made for me.
Right.
It's not a genre I like because I do play those occasionally. I try not to because I don't want to be like, yeah, I didn't like this game, but you should probably play it.
Right.
Because that just
feels disingenuous.
Yeah, it feels phony, and I'm like, the reason why I'm doing that makes sense, but it still just comes off as really shitty, and I'm like, I don't like doing that. So I usually try to only play games that I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this. And then sometimes, like with Subliminal, I really don't, and I rip that game apart, and they've never talked to me again.
I had that with Superliminal.
Did I say the wrong name?
Were you talking about Superliminal, the one where you change the size
The puzzle,
of shapes by looking away? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
what did
recorded
I say?
a full. You said Subliminal, which I have heard of, and so I thought that was what you're talking about.
No, I was talking about the same game you were.
I recorded a review for Superliminal. It's the one that I was going to bring up. I recorded a review for Superliminal, and I listened back to it, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm too harsh on this. I'm legitimately too harsh this time.
No,
and so I re-recorded a new review, and I was still very harsh. And I uploaded that one, and I have not, like, they sent me that key because I talked about how excited I was. I'd made a video on the demo. Demo was pretty good.
I didn't play the demo. I was just like, it's a puzzle game, and it's based on sight. I'm blind, and I love puzzles. This is, like, for me.
Yeah.
It was like, this is going to be a game made perfectly for me, and I fucking hate it.
I hated every second past the first chapter.
I liked it a little further than that, but there was a lot of secret areas you needed to get to stuff for achievements and and every time for me, all they had to do was one thing and it would have made the game good. Just one thing. Every time you set stuff, it might topple over. And if it topples over, it's fucking toppled over.
Yeah,
you can't
I agree.
fucking reorientate it. And now it's like, if you just gave us the ability to reorientate this shit, the game would be amazing. I would love that game. They've never talked to me. I ripped that game up. I was so mad.
I think I
I
still
was
have the
livid.
audio of the original review, but I don't shout during my reviews very often. But at one point, because one of my biggest issues with the game, which this is not just to bash on this game, I promise, but one of my issues with the game was that they change up your powers over the course of the game, right? And that's okay. That's not a bad idea. I would have
Yeah, they
preferred just
kinda
having
do, I
all the
guess.
powers instead of like, hey, for a little while you're going to have this ability and then you're going to have this other ability. I would have liked to have had them all. But they don't tell you they've changed them.
I'm what a bit I'm lost. Maybe
So,
we
like,
are talking.
in Superliminal, you have the ability to change the scale of things by looking away and looking at them from a different view, right?
Yeah.
Halfway
Yeah,
through the
usually
game,
you lift them up real high and then you drop them so they become bigger,
yeah, halfway
or
through
you
the
walk them
game,
into a wall.
you lose that ability completely.
I didn't get that far then.
Oh yeah, halfway through, you just completely lose the ability to do that. And
The
so
fuck?
you get into puzzles that seem like that's what you need to do, and you try to do it because you have muscle memory of doing it, and you just can't do it anymore.
See, I probably would have liked the puzzles from that point forward.
Yeah, I do think the
It
puzzles after that are better. I felt like by that point they had taught me to try and solve the puzzles
Mhm.
one way, and then just went, no, not now. Just, no, do them different now.
I wonder how close I was to that point.
And
I
then,
got to
like,
the area where you're walking towards one of the little toy buildings that
yeah,
you walk through, and the floor collapsed on me.
yeah,
That's where I got, and at that point, I was trying to get to a room that was much higher up, and just
right,
everything kept falling at angles that it's like, this isn't fucking useful, and it won't flip,
yeah.
and it just made me mad, and I kept replaying that level over and over and over, trying to get it to do what I wanted it.
I also think the physics
Oh, that made
engine
me so
needed
mad.
like another couple hours in the oven. There are times where stuff would just like vibrate and then just fall through
Uh-huh.
the floor, and it
I
was like,
didn't have
okay,
that
all
issue.
right,
I had them vibrate and jump.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Never fell through the floor. Oh shit.
We should probably move on from Superliminal though, because
Yeah,
I
that
agree
game's
with
just gonna
you,
make me angry.
and I think that like at the core of it, I don't think there is really such a thing as we have to wear kid gloves because our jobs as reviewers is to review the product, right? If you went
Yeah.
into, hey, I'm going to review this TV show, I think that they did their best. And no, tell me about the show. I understand they probably did their best. I don't assume anybody trying to make something tries to make it bad.
Yeah, in my opinion, I try to treat games like they're good.
Right.
And when they stop being good, I treat them like most people treated the last season of Game of Thrones.
Right.
Because you've gone fucked up and
Yes.
you deserve my lashings. Now take them like a good little bitch.
Right. I think and I'm curious about your thoughts on this. I don't really have like strikes that I give a game.
Okay.
But just like you, I assume that right away the game is going to be good. And
Yep.
then I slowly get more frustrated or more disappointed as it proves me wrong.
That really kind of depends on the game for me.
Right.
Because I usually go for games that I'm like, I'm going to like this game.
Yeah.
Those are the games I review if I have a choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't have a choice and I get games that I'm like, this is definitely not a game for me. But usually they're games for me because I'm the one who chooses what I play.
Right.
So for me, it's always like, yeah, the game's good. And then usually something happens that's just like a sucker punch to the back of my fucking head. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You didn't just fucking do that. When did Young Souls come? That's been out for a little while,
pretty
right?
recent. I think it was last year. Let me double check.
But that's been out for at least a month, right? That's all that
August
matters.
17th.
Okay, then it doesn't matter. Like I played I played that for review. My
Right.
review will be out on IGT probably maybe on Saturday. Maybe. It depends on if the fucking no, it'll definitely be out on Saturday. It just really depends on what the tone of that message is going to be, depending on whether the fucking devs contact me back or not.
Right.
Like I played through that game, I was like, I love this game, I love this game, I love this game, but there were constant moments. I had 3 seizures playing that game
Ooh.
because I'm photosynthetic, and
Yeah.
I know exactly what caused them.
Yeah.
Because there's over 100 of them in the fucking game that don't need to be there because they're not there for a design choice and they're not there for an artistic reason.
Oh boy.
Yeah, every time you walk up to one of the checkpoint gates, which is a place you can respawn
Yeah.
at, which there's 68 of in the game,
Oof.
it effectively gets powered up and the whole screen gets flashed bright white. So bright
Ah,
that I squeezed my eyes tight
and
and
you
it
can
was
still see
still
it.
pure white in my eyes. And most of that game
Why?
is in semi-dark areas. Yeah,
Yeah.
after that, if you pass that thing again, you see little streams like white vines kind of on it that
Yeah.
tells you, "Oh, you've just passed it, it's activated." I'm like, "If it just did that
That'd be
and
great.
got rid of this white flash bullshit, that'd
Yeah.
been no problem." Because immediately after it flashes, it pops up a box that you have to click a button to get out of that tells you, "Oh, this is now a checkpoint where you can
Right.
spawn at." So it's like nothing about that required that, and they do the same thing when you open chests.
Yeah.
And again, the same thing happens. It pops up telling you what you have, and you have to click A to get out of it. And it's like, didn't need the flash.
I don't mean to just always fall back on Celeste as the accessibility game, but it's the one that always comes to mind, right? Celeste
The
has
one
the
that comes
option
to
to
my
turn off
mind
flashing
is
lights.
the one that comes to my mind is the Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, it's got a
I've
bunch
never
of them.
played any of those, but I really want to. Because Ellie is yes. Uh
I only
but
played the first one, so to me, Ellie is like Daughteroo levels. That's an
yeah,
old reference too, Daughteroo.
yeah, ancient. Uh
Just like me.
yeah,
Nah, I'm
yeah,
younger than
just a little
Reverend.
bit.
I probably should edit that out. Let's just keep going. Uh, future Trey, remember, edit that out.
Nah,
Uh,
don't bother. We're all younger than him.
he'll laugh. He'll laugh.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
To
I
wrap
don't
this
think
back around, please go ahead.
I don't think people are generally too hard
Yeah,
typically, honestly. I don't think it is.
that is the
There are
conversation that
times
I
when you can
see.
be. You
Which
can be too harsh on it
right?
if you're like just shitting on it for the sake of shitting on it. Because lots of people, yes, Cyberpunk 2077 had a lot of fucking issues, and I
Oh yeah.
talked down about all those fucking issues. But I also was like in my review, and I played on the Xbox One S. So
Yeah.
mine was the one of the shittiest possible ways of playing the fucking game. Um, and I was like, yeah, there's a ton of fucking bugs. All the bugs really need to be fixed because they suck and they're
Right.
not fun. But I was like, I actually enjoyed the game. It was fun. I
Yeah.
put 80 hours into just the prologue.
I know a lot
I
of people
mean,
who loved it.
yeah, like I was like, I am enjoying this. It has a fuck ton of bugs, but I saw people who just shit on it and
Yeah.
shit on it and shit on it. Even reviewers who were just like, it's a terrible game. It
Yeah.
shouldn't exist. I'm like, it's not great, but it's not
It's not
bad. Hell, it's
Anthem.
better than the Elder Scrolls typically is.
Yeah. Not Anthem.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's like it's fun. It's not what they promised,
Yeah.
but it is fun. It's not a terrible, unenjoyable game. I love shooting people in the face. It's great, and I
Oh, it's
love
fun.
jumping really high too. I mean, hell yeah! And Judy naked is fantastic.
I wonder sometimes if a lot of the pushback against reviewers for being too harsh. I did quotations there. Remembered you couldn't see me. If that is from people that go, well, I like this thing, so it must be good, which seems
I
to be
think that's
a
generally what it
mindset
is.
that pops up all the time lately, and I don't get it. It's like I like stuff that's bad. I love stuff that's. I love Earth Defense Force, and the performance of those games is not good, but those
Whew.
games are great. And like,
I've never played one of those because I've looked at it and I'm like, I'd rather just
oh, it
suck on the end of a
chugs.
shotgun than play
It
that.
chugs so much, but it's
Oh
so
wow.
beautiful. Like there are times where EDF5 gets down to like 2 frames, and it's
Oh
gorgeous.
Jesus.
It's gorgeous.
Oh, that sounds
But
terrible.
I think that mindset is really destructive. Of like, because I like something, it can't have flaws. When like instead I can listen to a review for a thing that I love. Like you and I both have differences on how we feel about Dark Souls, right? I would
I
love
don't
to
like
hear
it.
you review Dark Souls, even though I
I'm
know you're
actually going
gonna
to be
hate
playing Dark Souls 3.
it. Really
I will be, yes. A friend
nice.
of mine, because I wanted Sekiro,
Yeah.
because I'm Asian and it's
Oh, I
Japanese, and I was like,
destroyed
so
that
I
game in
want
my
it.
review.
I know I'm not gonna ever be able to fucking beat that game. I knew that before I put that on my wish list, and it's on my PC.
Yeah,
My PC can't handle the game even, so I'm like, now I have to wait until I can buy a better PC
yeah.
to still not be able to beat this game. Uh,
Oh, it's a great game. It
so
just has some very like large flaws.
yeah, but the friend who bought me that, because he buys me Christmas gifts every year, he bought me that, and he bought me Dark Souls 3, and he's
Nice.
like, "Play Dark Souls 3 first,
Right.
because you're not gonna be able to beat Sekiro. Just play Dark Souls 3 first, because he loves the Soulsborns, he loves
Right.
all of them. And I've played Remnant from the Ashes with him,
Yeah.
and it's okay. It's
It's
not my
okay.
favorite game, but it's okay. So it's like, "Okay, fine, I'll play it," and I just recently installed it, and I'm like,
Nice.
once I get a break
Yeah.
in all the reviews I have to fucking do, I'm going to pick this up and start streaming it on my Twitch,
Nice.
and I'm like and he's going to eventually install it and probably carry me through most of it, because I know I'm not gonna be able to beat it, but
See,
but
I'd
I
love to hear
I
your
like
thoughts
games.
on it, even though
Yeah,
I
like
know we don't always agree on it, right?
yeah, the thing about Dark Souls for me is I like games with story.
Sure.
And this is a part where we disagree too. In my opinion, Dark Souls doesn't have a fucking story, because to get its story, you have to go through all, like, 5,000 items in the game
Right.
and
You
piecemeal
piece it
together a
together.
story.
Right.
That isn't a story, that is research homework.
Right.
There is
And
a difference.
as we've talked about, I obviously disagree. I love the story of Dark Souls, but I think people misunderstand what disagreement is, right? It's
Yeah,
not, well, you're wrong. It's, well, I feel differently about it because of the way look at it, you know?
yeah.
And that is where a review can be so good, even when the other person completely disagrees with you.
I see, the problem with that these days is I don't think people really want to listen to
Yeah,
disagreements
they don't.
anymore. I
They
think
don't.
I think they just in most people's minds, I think it's now become a if you don't agree with me, you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
You're not on my team. You're an other.
Oh,
And
Aki, my
I don't
review
even know what
for
caused it.
my review for Breath of the Wild is the one that gets the comments that are most like that. Where
Please
it's
please tell
like,
me you trashed it and people just ripped you to
no,
shreds.
I loved it.
Damn.
And
And
the
what?
comments are almost always like, how could you love this game? The weapons break. It's like, okay, yeah, that
That is the one aspect about that game I absolutely abhor.
I understand. I don't blame anybody that doesn't like it. That's not all that's in the game though, YouTube commenter. I can like the other stuff and not like that the weapons break. Like
Yeah,
it boggles my mind.
if it wasn't for that and the fact that it's only on Nintendo systems,
Sure, yeah.
I would probably play and enjoy that game.
Yeah.
Because everything else about that game seems awesome. I
Yeah.
hate weapon degradation system.
I don't blame
Like,
you.
even in the Fallout series, which is one of my favorite fucking series, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
It is so misery fucking
I
inducing.
have good news for you then. The Dark Souls that you're playing is the best one of that 3 trilogy for weapon degradation because your weapons break relatively quickly, but they get fully repaired every time you sit at a bonfire in Dark Souls 3.
I didn't know they broke. God damn it.
Yeah, you get to see the little meter though, and they repair immediately. So
Okay, that's good. I knew it was supposed to be the best one because my friend told me it was the best one,
right,
and I was like, I know 2 is the most hated one because you
yeah,
can literally because every time you die, the game gets harder because you can't
yeah. You
get
lose health till you
something.
get to half.
Yeah,
You
and
lose
you can
max
only
health.
then you can
What?
only fix it so many times,
Yep, you got to get an item to fix
and
it.
then there's no more of them anymore.
Yeah, you also need to spend that item to be able to fight a secret boss, which is one of the hardest bosses in the game.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm never playing fucking that.
Yeah.
Even if I end up liking this game, I ain't ever playing that fucking one
No.
because that's misery.
The first
Um,
one's still my favorite, but the first one's also very obtuse compared to the third one. So,
yeah, my friend got me that because they're like, you'll like it. I'm like, I don't know if I will
yeah.
because I do kind of like the Souls-esque type games.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I've played Code Vein and
Yeah. Code
Anime
Vein's fun.
Titty Dark Souls. But
That
I
game's
liked
got a
it
great
because
soundtrack, too.
oh yes, it does. But I liked it because it had a story and
Yeah.
it was a cohesive story. It wasn't the best story I've ever
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if
played.
it's a good story, but I like the story.
Yeah, like it doesn't have a proper beginning or a proper end.
Yeah.
It's kind of a middle section with no beginning or
I
end,
wish I could
but
tell you any
that's
of those
good.
characters' names because I thought their like backstory doors were all really cool, and I can't remember any of their names.
Oh God, nor can I now that I'm thinking about it. Oh God,
I think
I can
somebody was
remember
named
what every
Io.
last one of them look like.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
But their names are just gone. I played a really cool
Io
like
was
girl
the
with an eye
girl.
patch there.
Io was the big tittied girl who was barely wearing any clothes that was
That's
with you the whole
right.
time.
That's
With
right.
the who was really good with hammers.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
and the waifu of that game in most people's minds.
Yeah.
I use her to fight with regularly, but she's not my favorite character.
I used
Uh,
the guy whose name I can't remember that had the ponytail that his whole squad died.
did he have red hair?
Yeah, reddish
Yeah.
orangish hair. Yeah,
What was his name?
he was cool.
Yuki
Maybe.
something. It was Yuki something. I don't remember the last part of the name, but it started with
Uh,
Yuki. I can't remember the rest.
I'm just gonna Google this while we talk. Don't mind me.
I'm not good with names of characters, sadly. I'm good with face. I remember literally every character's model in that entire game. Literally all of them, even the bad guys. I remember
Yakumo.
them all. Yakumo. Oh,
That's it.
so close. Oh,
Yeah.
I was wrong though. Hurts
So
because the other one I use all the time is Jack, which
that's
is
fair.
the other guy because he
Yeah.
has the ability that gives you like 50 or no, he makes your damage times 200% or something
Yeah.
like that, but you can't heal anymore.
Right.
And I use that to one shot bosses.
Very nice. So I have one more question for you. As we closed in on an hour here, I feel like we're probably because of this question going to wind up going over, which is fine. Uh, when it comes to reviewing games,
Mhm,
you review a bunch of different types of games. What is your
mhm.
favorite genre to review?
Oh, oh, this is hard. Oh, that's hard. Usually the most straightforward ones are visual novels.
Yeah,
Uh, and I like how straightforward they are, and I play lots of Yuri ones, so
that's fair.
lots of lesbian loving in it. Just in case anyone doesn't know what Yuri is, it means girl on girl romance.
Yeah,
So I like those, and I also like the yaoi ones that I sometimes play. I don't get very many of those.
yeah,
The otomes are so because I just it's, it's not as fun when it's not same sex. They're just not, in my opinion, they're not written quite as well. Uh,
See, I agree with you, even though it's not for the same reason. I also think otomes normally aren't written as well because I think the guys just aren't believable most of the time.
well, some of them are, but most of
Some of them,
them
yeah,
are. They're just cookie cut. They're kind of like how girls are characterized in most other games.
yeah,
They're very
yeah. I agree.
cookie fucking cutter.
Yeah,
Um, so in my opinion, the Yuri and the Yaoi are both better
right.
than the other two because the other two everyone's cookie cutter.
Yeah,
Um, but then there's also puzzle games, which are usually fairly straightforward, but they can be kind of hard to talk about because, different mechanics in it can be really hard to fucking explain.
yeah,
Uh, just because they're a pain in the ass sometimes. But then there's RPGs and first person
yeah.
shooters, and they're both long and big. That's what she said. Uh, but there's so much to talk about in RPGs. There's usually not quite as much in a first person shooter, but they're
Right,
both very straightforward to talk about because it's like you do this in it. The story's about this.
right.
These are the characters. These characters are assholes. These characters are great. Or in Tales of Arise situation, these characters are characters. They have nothing. They do have character growth though,
Yeah,
but they are bland as shit otherwise.
yeah. It's
So it's like,
why?
so
Why
I
is so
don't know
many
which one's my
RPGs
favorite.
and so many shooters just have like super bland side characters? Think about like Halo.
Most
What was it? Halo
shooters
Five
are just
Guardians.
bland. I
Like
mean,
Halo 5 Guardians has, hey, here's a whole team. They're kind of not important though. We're not really going to spend any
yeah,
time dealing with their
he,
personalities at all.
here's a whole team of original Spartans when you're supposed to be one of the last couple of them alive.
Yeah,
But here's a whole team that have apparently known you the entire time, but haven't
right.
bothered to fucking help you with anything
Yeah.
ever before. I didn't like that aspect. I did
Only
like the
thing,
girl sniper. She was
yeah.
pretty cool.
The only thing I liked about Halo 5 Guardians is when that guy thinks he's gonna take down Chief Locust, I think is his name, and Chief just like hands him his own, just takes him down.
Yeah, are we talking about the black guy
Yeah,
who's hunting him the whole game?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think his name was Locust.
Is it not?
Um,
Am I thinking of a
I
different
don't
character?
I don't think that's his name. I don't really remember that well anymore because I preferred him in the TV show,
Yeah,
Nightfall.
that's fair.
He was really good in Nightfall.
It's
And then
Locke.
the
How did I
game
get
he
so
was
close and
terrible in.
so
Yeah,
off?
Locke, that's right. Like he does win eventually.
Yeah,
He
that's
puts
true.
him in
That's true.
armor lock mode, so
Yeah,
he does take his ass out.
yeah.
And that was, in my opinion, that was one of the best parts of the game was
I
him
agree.
doing that, and then the chief getting sucked off into it. God, that sounded terrible. Moved to another area uh,
Yeah,
by Cortana, probably to be sucked off, but to be locked in stasis. That was like my favorite part of the game because
right.
I don't like John, which is gonna get this video a lot of hate
No, I understand
because
though. I understand. I've
John
read a
is
lot
one
of
of
the
the
books.
most boring motherfuckers I've
Yeah.
ever fucking seen.
I've read a lot of the books, and I'm a Kurt. I'm a 051 Kurt fan all the way.
I have a lot of the books. I don't remember any of them. I've only read like part of one, and I was just like, eh,
If you only
the
read
writing's
one,
okay.
read Ghost of Onyx. It's in my mind, it's the best book in the series.
Pretty sure I have that one. I got most of them in PDF.
That's
I
fair.
think I have that one. At least I had a whole bunch of them back before Halo the Master Chief Collection came out, but there's
Yeah.
probably been a whole bunch of them that came out since then. But like I liked Cortana. I didn't like the Chief. Cortana
Yeah.
was more human than he was.
Oh, for
Honestly,
sure.
I didn't like it to such a point that I thought that the original first two Halos, I thought the Master Chief was silent because I forgot he ever talked. I thought he
Right.
was a silent protagonist because I disliked him so much that I
I
couldn't
think
remember his voice.
I think in the first couple games that's on purpose. Like he talks very little, and it's supposed to be the human character's a human in comparison to him,
Yeah,
right?
he's a
It's
fucking
he's
robot.
the other, right? And then by
Yeah.
Halo 3, it's just no, he's talking all the time. It's like, okay, I guess we're throwing that plot thread away. I just assumed that's what we were doing. I guess I was the one that was wrong.
My favorite Halo game has a cameo from the Chief. It's
Yeah.
Reach.
Yeah, Reach is
I
very good.
loved Reach,
Reach
and I
is
think
very
most
good.
of the deaths were bullshit,
I agree.
especially Kat, who
Yep.
had a shield and her helmet on and was still shot once
The
by a
fact that
needler that shouldn't have killed her, period.
yeah, the
And
fact
she
that they
was,
then just go, all right, we'll just move on. It's like, what?
yeah, no, I would have, I would have immediately been like, okay, now there needs to be a mission to destroy that entire building
Yeah.
and everything in it. Like, demolish that building, not go through it and clear it. No, I mean, plant charges on it, blow
Yeah.
that building to hell with that sniper still up there, and just defend the place until all the stuff is set, just to kill that one bastard. Because that's
Literally,
all I
like,
wanted to do.
we couldn't figure out how to get rid of her, so we'll just kill her off in a scene. Here we go.
Yeah, that
Come
was
on.
the worst death. Like some of the others were really good, like George.
Yeah, that's a
which
good moment.
his was good, but he could have solved that another way
I
because
agree.
he was like, oh, someone has to manually detonate it because the switch doesn't work anymore, except for they're all wearing this really complex fucking thing on their arm
Yeah.
that is a miniature computer that they could have
Yeah.
hooked it up to with no trouble.
They also could have just shot it.
Well, yeah, that too. I didn't
I just
think of that.
assumed he wanted to die at that point. Like,
Yeah, he was older, wasn't he?
yeah, he
So
was.
maybe
I
he had
just assumed
seen
he's like, yeah,
enough
I'm
war
done.
at that point.
I'm done.
And
Let
then,
me go out in a blaze of
obviously,
glory.
Emil, his death was fantastic.
Yeah, agreed.
Shooting stuff until, the elites got there and then even fighting them off until
Yep.
he got killed. Hell yeah, that was bitchin'. All the rest of the deaths were kind of eh.
I agree.
They didn't really deserve to exist. Those two were the only two I could justify.
Yeah.
And one of them I can just barely justify. The other one, Emil, yeah, totally.
For sure.
He ate shit and died. But it was all
Could have just given the whole squad that fight. Realistically, they all
Yeah.
could have just died there, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, to me, the best ending for that game would have been all of them survived. The leader got away, Min or whatever the fuck his name
Yeah.
was, as he did. bringing the thing to the chief,
Right.
who's actually in that ship, so there's no reason for Min to be in there, because
Yeah.
that's where the cameo is the chief is on the ship, so he doesn't need to be on it to escape to give it to the chief, who's standing like 3 feet from him.
Right.
But for me, it would have been, okay, the ending would have still been the same, except for all the team was there, except for maybe Emil, because
Right.
he died in that thing. But they're all fighting in order to just give more time for people to get to safety,
Yeah. And they just
getting
start
people
dropping
off
one by
ship.
one.
Yeah, and they just keep nailing and killing the team one by one until only you're left.
Yep.
And like you're standing outside of a bunker that's still getting people out or something, like getting them on ships and firing them off into space or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been so bitchin'.
I agree.
And I don't know how we got on this subject anymore.
Yeah, we derailed a little bit, but I think it's good because we were talking about what we like to review most, and you know, genres that maybe we have some issues with, and we could just keep going, right? Obviously, there's a
Yeah,
whole lot more we could talk about.
yeah,
Uh,
those are the genres I like, but those are the genres I like playing too. So,
right, it's absolutely
like,
fair.
if it was like, oh, here's a racing game or a sports game, yeah, they'd probably be. Well, no, I don't know if they'd be easy for me to review because for me, let's say like Gran Turismo. What kind of racing game is that? Is that one where you actually race around a track?
Yeah, it's a sport racer.
Yeah, I would have been like, okay, here's your review for Gran Turismo 7. You drive in a fucking circle making a lot of left turns.
Yeah,
The end.
yeah.
It's like every other game that preceded it. It's a little prettier. Otherwise, it's the same fucking game. The end.
Those are the
And I've
kind of
said that
games that
actually
like, hey,
about it.
you just listen to the people that prefer the niche, right? That's what they do. You find the channel on YouTube that just talks about racing games. You listen to them talk about it. There you go.
Yeah. Like someone on the SML podcast did one of the football games, one of the Madden ones. I
Yeah.
don't the most recent one, I guess. And he spent 10 minutes talking about it. I'm like, what the fuck do you have to say about this fucking game for 10 minutes? It's football. Football hasn't changed in over 100 fucking years.
Right.
It's the exact same game as the one that came out last time one came out. Literally, it has different skin to it. The end.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I can do this in like 2 minutes. I think he spent like, no, no. Give me time to do my reviews because we only had like an hour or something that day.
Right.
And he took up like 30 minutes of that on 3 games, and I had like 4 or 5. I'm like, you motherfucker. And then I
It
ended
can
up
be
doing all
tough.
mine in like 15 minutes total. I'm,
It can be
you
tough to
bitch.
shove all that into a little amount of time. That's what we do with weeks. Is try to shove all the stuff we want to talk about in weeks into a little time.
Yeah, thankfully, usually the SML podcast, we just go until we stop.
Yeah.
We have episodes that are like, I think the shortest episode, I wasn't there for it. It was well before my time, I think, was like 37 or 49 or something minutes or something like that.
Right.
Our longest one was like around 4 hours.
Nice. Nice.
And I'm pretty sure I was there for that.
Nice. Well, Dark
So
or
oof.
Aki, I'm sorry. I fell
It's
back
fine,
on my
whichever.
nickname for you. Uh,
Lots of people call me Dark or
that's
Mika,
fair.
but my name's okay, so I'm just like, it's shorter. It's 3 letters instead
Yeah,
of 4.
it is. It's been a blast talking about this with you. Definitely want to do a follow up on this. I have some reviews I'm planning on doing in the future, and I really want to hear your thoughts on Souls. But at some point, we need to do a follow up on this that talks about the problem with reviewing, and specifically, like, I really want to at some point. I should probably talk to you about this off air, but at some point, I really
on
want to
air's
do a
fine.
discussion about like when people review games that they didn't play, like at all, and they
People
post the
do
review
that?
anyway. Yeah, I see that in the
Ew.
reviews that we cover on the podcast all the time, where it's like you obviously didn't touch this game, and there's
Ew,
a whole
what the
subset
fuck?
of like integrity there that I want to talk about, but that'll be for another video. Uh, so
That's
where
rancid.
right? So where can people find you?
Well, I go by Dark Mikas on Fire, DarkMikasonFire. Pretty much everywhere. If it's on something, it's Probably me. I'm on Xbox at that. I'm on Twitter at that. My Twitch is that. My email is that.
Right.
it's it's literally everything. Even Discord and Skype are all that. So it's like anywhere you need to find me, it's at that. And I'm always open to play games with people on Xbox. I don't have a PlayStation, sadly.
Right.
I would be open to playing with people on Steam, but I don't play a lot of multiplayer Steam games because playing multiplayer on Steam is a pain in the fucking ass.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you can find me at indiegamerteam.com.
We'll include a link to that in the description, of course.
You can also find me at the SML podcast here on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll put a link to that too.
Awesome. And I think that's it. I am
Okay.
really bad at this part because
no
I've
worries.
never had to do that before.
Well,
No one's ever been like, "Where can we find you?" I'm like, "Oh, fucking no, everywhere, nowhere. I don't know."
I know I said
Why
it
would
earlier.
people want to
and
find
I'm
me?
not just trying to boost your ego, but absolutely think that you should check out those reviews. I think that Aki writes some really great reviews. And again, I was very impressed with your off the cuff stuff. I thought you'd written up notes for that, so that's really cool.
No, I hate writing. I hate writing in general.
I
I
used to
write my
love it.
reviews and I like writing that because I like writing long form.
Yeah.
I am also an amateur novelist. Not
Nice.
that I've put anything out yet, but I've been working on and off on a bunch of different books. Most
Yeah.
of them I could not sell because they're all Star Wars stuff. Because I like my smut and I like Twi'leks and Togruta and Zabrak. So
I don't blame
it
you.
is.
You like what you like.
Yeah, them
I
head
used
tails.
to love writing reviews, but then like writing out the whole thing. But like
Yeah.
I said, that Ghost of Tsushima review broke me. It spent 3 months on that thing, and I think in the first month it had like 23 views. And I had done like an off the cuff little review for a movie I saw that got like 500 views in the first 2 weeks, and it was like, okay, why did I just spend 3 months on that?
Yeah,
Never
see,
again.
For me, I don't expect views for my
Right.
written stuff at Indie Gamer Team because it's informative. And again, most
Right.
people want comedy and whatnot. But I think if people don't like that, you'll probably will like my SML stuff because on there I am known as the person who says fuck
Right.
a lot. And cunt a lot too, actually. I say
Right.
both quite frequently. Uh Hell, today a song went up on there because I requested it, and the name of the song, which I said in chat even, was Fuck You with an Anchor. So
Okay. Yeah.
that should emphasize exactly what kind of person I am on there. It is much more relaxed, and whereas at IGT, I try to be more prim and proper. I don't
Yeah.
tend to let the things come out that necessarily I might want to come out, but at
Yeah.
SML I'm a lot more relaxed. I'm a lot more me.
Yeah.
I'm significantly more pervy and vulgar on
I
there.
find a
So
lot more freedom in that. In not because obviously I'm not as vulgar in my reviews. I don't think you probably have never heard me curse. Probably never will. But
I'm pretty sure I heard you say one cuss word
I think I might have snuck
once.
one in at one point. But
Because Rugran made a point of pointing that out. He's like, finally someone made him say. I want to say it was fuck, but I just don't think that was right. I think it was shit or something.
yeah, I don't.
And
I will
yeah.
neither confirm nor deny. But that's the big thing to me of like, hey, when it comes to a review, I want to hear what the person thinks. I don't want to hear like a pre-recorded, generated response. You know?
Yeah, usually for my reviews, my written ones even, I write them, I edit them to make sure there's no spelling or grammar mistakes if I can. I'm not particularly good at grammar. So why I'm the editor is beyond me. The only one willing to spend the hours to do it. I spent 12 hours doing it just a
Ugh.
couple days ago. And I did 6 different reviews and it took me 12 hours and I was and I went to sleep at like 8 a.m. that morning.
People always underestimate the back end work. They always do.
It sucks ass.
It sure does.
But you know, there I'm a lot more prim and proper because it's written and I'm the head of the site, so I kind of feel like I need to be.
Yeah.
So I try to be much more informative, but even with that, I write, I edit, and then I schedule immediately. I'll
Yeah.
do it all in one day.
Yeah.
I don't fuck around with my own reviews. I'm just like, I wrote it. I know what it says.
Yeah.
I'm generally pretty good at writing. I will edit it real quick just to make sure I didn't accidentally type things or start a sentence in the middle of a sentence
Right.
because I have a tendency to speak while I'm typing, and usually I'm saying what I'm typing.
Yeah. I do the same thing.
And sometimes I go on a tangent and I'll write the tangent instead of what I was writing
Right.
originally, and then I have to go back and fix that. But no, usually I just write it, edit it real quick, schedule it immediately, and
Yeah.
I don't spend any time thinking about it beyond that because I'm like, I might get 3 or 4 views on that period ever. Most of my reviews have up to, I think one of my highest ones has like 15 or 21 views,
Yeah.
and it's over a year old now. So I'm like, I know I'm not going to get any fucking views on this because I'm not funny. But over at SML, I just let loose. I'm just
Yeah.
like whatever because I'm not the boss there. If I make Joe look bad, shame on him. He shouldn't let me do these
Yeah.
things.
Well, and to clarify, I don't even mind if I only get like 20 views on a video, but why spend 3 months on a video that's only going to get 20 views when the other one that takes like a week to make does better? I'm just going to do it that way from now on.
Yeah, yeah. It has to be a lot harder though for individuals like yourself who actually have jobs. Like most of the team, matter of fact, both of the teams I work with, most of them have jobs. I'm like
Yeah.
one of the only people I don't. Everyone else on my team either has school or work or both,
Right.
and I'm just like, I give them 2 weeks over at IGT because I know how harsh it can be to have 1 week to do shit.
Yeah.
Because I do it all the time. I'm like, if I had a job, that wouldn't work.
It's tough to
And
balance things sometimes, but I
yeah, I don't
think
have
that
to, thankfully.
right. I think it's important to still do things you love, even if you don't have a lot of time to do them. And that's where, like, I love reviewing things. I love playing a game or watching a show and then just talking about why I liked it.
Yeah, I like doing that. Ooh, I like doing that too. I don't get a lot of chances. Like, I like when I decide to play a game.
Yeah.
More so, like I might get like 4 or 5 games a week to review, and it's like there's a difference between playing those and reviewing them, and just me like, I have nothing to do this week. I'm going to
Yeah.
play this game, and then deciding, hey, I really like this game. I want to review it.
Yeah.
I enjoy that a lot more than I do the rest of the stuff I do because it's just like, then I finally got to play something for me.
Right.
Even
I
if
agree.
lots of the games I play, I'm like, I want this game, I want this game, I want this game, gimme, 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 and then get it. There's still that difference because
Yes.
one is more a job. I have to have it done within this period of time.
Right.
Whereas the other one is, I played it. It's, a year and a half old. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
I'll review it.
I felt that for sure when I vowed to beat the entire Trails series that was localized in a year so that I could beat it before the anime came out. And then I
remember you
did,
talking about that.
and the anime got delayed. But I did it.
Oh my
I
God,
did
that's
it. Dang
perfect.
it.
Oh shit! I just recently watched the entirety of Full Metal Panic
Full Metal
recently.
Panic's great.
Yeah, I have the first 2 seasons on DVD back when oh god, who used to own it? Because someone else owns it right now,
Yeah.
and I had it back before they owned it. I had it back when Suncoast was still
Okay.
big. That's when I got it. Way, way back when
Man, I love
Suncoast
Full
was
Metal
still
Panic.
all over the country.
Sosuke's such a
And
good
now,
character.
yeah. And I got the first 2 seasons, and then I saw they apparently came out within the past few years or something. They came out with another season, uh, Invisible Victory or something like that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit, there's a
I
new
haven't
season
watched
of
that
this.
yet.
Oh, I just finished it. Not too
Nice.
long ago. I finished that and then another anime,
Yeah.
and I haven't started another one yet. But I was like, I remember everything about this, all 3 of the other seasons, but I feel like rewatching them all. So I
Yeah.
watched all 4 seasons. It
All I'm
took me
saying
like
is
8 days.
Full
Uh,
Metal Panic has one of the it's a scene that I never thought would be the one that hit me and stuck with me. But when Chidori is cutting Sosuke's hair, that's a
and he
dang
falls
good
asleep.
scene.
That
That's
was
a
that was oh
oh,
my
that
heart.
scene. That scene's
That
so
was so
good.
cute. I
Oh
like that one, and I like every time he pulls out a shotgun and shoots
yep,
people in the face with
yep,
beanbags,
yep,
and her hitting him in the head.
Yep.
With the folded up fan.
Chittery's a great character.
Those.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, it is. Oh, and it's part is invisible victory. Part of it's gonna break your heart. I'm just gonna tell you now.
Okay.
It's gonna break your fucking
I
heart
need to
because
watch
it's
it.
so sad. Yeah, it's 12 episodes. It's real quick.
Okay.
I can send you a link of where you can watch it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Because yeah, I watch a lot of anime.
Yeah. I need to get back
I
into
have
anime.
no life.
I've been watching Tokusatsu and trying to get that done for review, and I need to slip some anime back in there. Well, Dark, I hate to wrap us up, but we should probably end this recording soon so that I can actually get it edited tonight.
Oh yeah, probably. Because if not, we're. Matter of fact,
gonna
even
keep
after
going.
this is done, we might just keep talking anyways while you're editing. Because fuck it, why not? It's been a while since I've. This is more human interaction than I've had probably in a month in real life.
Yeah.
So just now, I don't leave the house. Again, agoraphobic. I don't leave the house. I
Yeah,
don't
I understand.
interact with people. So I like every time I get to do something like this, especially if I get along with someone, which isn't particularly common for me because I'm kind of a bitch.
You're just you. You're just you.
Yeah. So while you're editing this, let's keep talking because I want someone to talk to for a while. Because God, so much anime.
All right. Well, with all that said, then I've been Trey,
and I've been Aki.
And this has been a really cool one-off, maybe not one-off, we'll see, video from the full spectrum. But until next time, remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that reviewing has to offer.